Are you ready to get your fix?
Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready to get your fix?
With the Wicks here on this very, very beautiful Tuesday, March 15th, 2022, and welcome to the show, whether that be on Facebook or on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, do me a favor, hit the like and hit the share. It'd be much appreciated. Same goes for YouTube. Hit the subscribe. Again, much appreciated. We're only trying to grow this thing and continuously getting better as we move forward. Yesterday was a wild day in the National Football League as the legal tampering period has officially begun, meaning that every team has the chance to go out and sign free agents in which the deal will not be finalized, or all these deals will not be finalized until Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time when the legal tampering period is over, as well as teams have to be under the $208 million cap space that the NFL posted not too long ago. So that is also one of the deadlines that the NFL or all the NFL teams are facing. A lot more moves have been made. Today it was an absolute wild day. I wouldn't necessarily say it was as wild as yesterday, but there's still a lot of movement. Players getting plucked from free agency and finding their home for at least the next year, maybe couple years moving forward. I mean, my phone was literally blowing up as soon as I woke up. The Aaron Rodgers contract has officially been announced. And let me tell you, the 4-year, $200 million contract that you all were hearing and you all believed, Aaron Rodgers actually went on Twitter and said, yeah, that contract you're hearing, that's wrong. And so basically it was fake news for the whole time. But we now finally got the full details of what that contract means. We'll dive into that here in just a minute. Teams are also shopping for Deshaun Watson after he was announced not guilty for all the criminal cases. There was 22 women that came forward accusing him of some certain things, which I understand. I'm not going to dive into it, but he was proven not guilty, or the grand jury decided not to move forward with the evidence that they were presented with. So Deshaun Watson is now trying to seek his next home for at least the next couple of years, because he is a highly sought after quarterback. He is one of the best in the NFL, and obviously we don't really know the full extent of that because, hey, he didn't play all last season because he was dealing with, this whole, stuff, the cases, the civil lawsuits and whatnot. So there's a lot of teams, some interesting teams as well that have, called him to try to make an offer. The Atlanta Falcons, the Cleveland Browns will kind of dive in to that, but the Saints and Panthers seem to be front runners. The Vikings finally making some moves. Knew this was going to come because we were $13 million over the cap space, have to get under that. So we got to restructure some people. We got to bring in some new people, some new faces, and some new places. That is what today, yesterday, and tomorrow is all about: new faces in new places. And I couldn't be more excited because we have a plethora, of moves that have been made. Couldn't fit it on one sheet, so we have the tweets here on my right side, your left, I believe. Maybe it's on your right side. But to, look at and talk about as well. So with that being said, are you ready to get your fix? So obviously the big news of the morning was Aaron Rodgers' contract details, meaning what was he getting paid for how long? What does it mean for the Green Bay Packers going forward? So basically his contract is a 4-year extension, which goes, so he has 1 more year left on this current contract, and then it's a 4-year extension after that. So 5 total years with 2 dummy years at the end. So this year and the next 3 years, this year and the next 2 years are basically where he gets all of his guaranteed money. The next 2 or the 2 years after that is kind of like a dead space where if he decides to retire, the Green Bay Packers would have to pay him that money that is, out there, I think. Or it's more of, if he plays these next 3 seasons, so this season and the next 2, he can go find a new home if that was the case. So it's technically a 4-year extension with 2 dummy years. This will pay him $50 million per year, which is what it was expected. So, the 4-year, $200 million contract was sort of right, but 3 years he gets a total of $150 million or $150.6 million completely guaranteed, and that is why he has those 2 dummy years. So the next 3 years, $150 million that he gets paid, but obviously if he decides to retire, they can take that money and spread it out through more years, as I would expect them to do, to save them cap over the next couple years. But what this kind of means is that he gets $74.5 million in his first season. So he gets all of the money that he gets from his last contract onto this one, and then he gets another stipend. I can't really remember. So this is what it is. At Tom Pelissero on Twitter, on first read of at hashtag Panthers quarterback Aaron Rodgers' new contract, he gets $42 million in 2022. He gets $59.515 million in 2023 and gets $49.3 million in 2024. So that's $150.815 million over the next 3 years, and the first 2 are fully guaranteed at signing. So the first 2 years are guaranteed fully at signing, which means you take the $42 million, add the $59 million, and then that pretty much leads you to the $74.5 million that he gets right at signing. Cha-ching. Big-ass payday for Aaron Rodgers. Congrats to him. I'm pumped for it. His second year, he's going to get about a $62 million average salary, and then it kind of trickles off after that. So Aaron Rodgers got a big payday. Expected this to come. I mean, he's a back-to-back MVP. Led the Green Bay Packers the last 3 seasons to back-to-back 13-3 seasons. Last year was 13-4, 2 NFC Championship games, like I kind of mentioned. The guy's playing at the highest level. He hasn't shown any, regression at all. He's a top-tier quarterback in the NFL, and when he plays, you just got to expect that he has a very, very good chance of winning that ball game. So congratulations to Aaron Rodgers, but what does that mean, obviously, for the rest of the team, being that their cap space was kind of ridiculous? Well, with this contract, it takes away some cap space, or the cap hit for the Green Bay Packers, so now they're hopefully able to figure out a way to work out a contract for wide receiver Davante Adams, because he had mentioned yesterday that, hey, I ain't fucking playing on that franchise tag. Just not going to happen. I'm going to go do my own thing. Otherwise, you guys are going to pay me my money, and then I'll be back in Green Bay. And that's kind of what the whole talk of the town was after we heard Aaron Rodgers coming back to Green Bay. What's going to happen with Davante Adams? Oh, he's going to get tagged. He ain't going to play on it. So that is, I think, going to be the next step that the Green Bay Packers have to take and have to address, to know that, hey, do we want Adams to play here with Aaron Rodgers? We got to get a contract extension done so we have these 2 locked up for the next 4 years, at least next 3 years, so that we have a really good chance at potentially playing for another Super Bowl down the road. So great for Aaron Rodgers, great for the Green Bay Packers. Not so great for the Minnesota Vikings. We decided to extend Kirk to free up some cap space, which I get 100%. I'm going to go all in on Kirk this year, like I always have, because he's our quarterback. At the end of the day, that is who I have to rely on to win us ball games. Not the defense, not the offense. It has to be Kirk Cousins that's going to have to win us ball games, because he's the one who touches the ball on every single play, every single down, not including the defensive side of things. So, with that being said, yesterday, man, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they came to play. They made a lot of moves. The Patriots last year set a record of $156 million guaranteed during this 3-day period. The Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday alone spent 101, or had contracts. They negotiated $229.5 million of contracts yesterday. 101 of that million. fully guaranteed. So they're right there on the cusp of breaking that Patriot record from last year in which the Patriots tried to go all in. And it helped tremendously going from a 7-9 season to a second overall seed in the AFC East division. But $229.5 million was spent from the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was getting wide receiver Christian Kirk for 4 years, $72 million. Guard Brandon Sheriff to 3 years, $49.5 million. Linebacker Foyo Oluokun, 3 years, $45 million. D tackle Foley Fadokasi, 3 years, $30 million. Wide receiver Zay Jones, okay, who was formerly of the Las Vegas Raiders, not anymore. 3 years, $24 million. And then they found a way to land tight end Evan Ingram on a 1 year, $9 million deal. So basically the franchise tag is what he got, but that's not exactly what he got. He just got a contract for 1 year to kind of see, is this going to work out? We'll see what happens because he has been mentioned at playing in the slot. He's kind of like a Mike Gesicki. He's more of a wide receiver than he is a tight end, but he's labeled as a tight end because obviously that is where he lines up the majority of the time, and sometimes that might not be the case, like in Mike Gesicki's case over there. But Jaguars, look, they made a lot of fucking moves, and they just continue to do so. So today, after making all those moves, they decide, hey, we got to get some people out of the building now to give us more room to pick up more people that we would potentially want on our roster at our organization. They released linebacker Myles Jack, who had 108 tackles last season. I don't know about this move. I think you're getting a good guy that's hitting the free agency market. A lot of teams are going to be tripping over themselves to go get this guy, I believe. They got to take in mind there's Von Miller that's still on the free agency block or whatever you want to call it, the free agency list. There is Bobby Wagner is another one. Jordan Hicks, not anymore because the Minnesota fucking Vikings decide to pick him up today and sign him to I believe, let's go take a quick gander what the Minnesota Vikings did. The Minnesota Vikings are signing or are expected to sign veteran linebacker Jordan Hicks, formerly of the Arizona Cardinals, to a 2-year, $10 million deal with upside to $12 million. So it's a $10 million deal, can earn up to $12 million with 6.5 of that guaranteed. So I'm pumped about it, but there's linebackers now are hitting the market. Myles Jack is a very, very good one for any team that needs one. I think there's going to be a lot of good suitors out there that need someone like him. The Broncos, they need some linebacker help. Von Miller has said that he probably will go back. Who knows what that all entails? Maybe he re-signs with the Los Angeles Rams, but just know Myles Jack has hit the free agency market. Who knows where he goes? Because, hey, new faces, new places. This is the time, these 3-day stretches. I mean, it is bonkers in the NFL world. Other than that, a lot more big news or big moves have been made by multiple franchises. The Chargers have released veteran right tackle Brian Bulaga, saving about $10.7 million in cap space. This, I guess, was apparently an expected move as Bulaga played just one game last season. Now, obviously, he had to deal with injuries and stuff like that. I thought he was a very good piece of that team if he was able to stay healthy. That was not the case last year. But now the free agency list, the free agency market has a very high caliber right tackle ready to rock and roll, ready to go find a new home. There's going to be many, many suitors because we all know the offensive line is a very, very big part of an NFL franchise. If you don't have a good don't have a good offensive line, more than likely you're not going to make it to the playoffs and beyond. Now, hold on to that because the Cincinnati Bengals did so last year with a shitty offensive line. They found a way to make it to the playoffs, make it to the AFC Championship game, and then make their way to the NFL 56 or Super Bowl 56. So it can be done, but the offensive line is one place where if you don't have a good foundation to protect your quarterback, to give your quarterback time to throw the ball and find the open receiver, things fall apart. They can't block for your running back. They let linebackers come in. They let D tackles come in. Everything, all your game plan, your total game plan has basically been shut down. So Brian Bulaga hits the market. I cannot wait to see where he goes because I have noted in the past and today where I think this guy is a top tier offensive lineman. Now we just got to go see where he ends up and if that seems to be a good fit. Other offensive linemen on the move. New England Patriots have decided to trade guard Shaq Mason to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, like I mentioned earlier in the last week as well, they only had or retained 7 of their 22 starters, offense and defense. The rest of them basically hit free agency. So they had a lot of moves to be made. Tom Brady was retired. Not anymore, folks. My boy is back in the NFL, and he brings a lot of upside to the Buccaneers organization for that, including bringing multiple suitors over to play with him and try to chase yet another championship ring. So Tom Brady obviously played with the New England Patriots. He actually did play with Shaq Mason, who is their guard. He is now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, deal to be finalized Wednesday. That is going to be awesome to witness. And, obviously chemistry is a big, big thing in the NFL, especially on the offensive line, especially with, having to deal with the quarterback day in and day out. So, big move there. The Buffalo Bills, they decided to go sign free agent cornerback, The Steelers are taking Bills free agent cornerback Levi Wallace, who has been a pretty solid corner, a good man-to-man zone corner. Not the greatest, obviously. Okay, there's other names out there like Stephon Gilmore and, Trevon Diggs. There's obviously those people out there. But Levi Wallace goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers on a 2-year, $8 million deal. He started 52 games in 4 years for Buffalo and did a fantastic job with them as well. So before we get into the compensatory picks that were compensatory picks that were just announced by the NFL, and what that kind of means is, it's like what you lost compared to what you gained in free agency the year before. So, like, if you lost for instance, like a minority head coach. If you lose a minority head coach, the NFL rewards you with a compensatory pick because you gave that coach an opportunity to have a job in the National Football League, and then he goes out and gets a head coaching job. The Niners had 2 of them, Mike McDaniel and Robert Saleh. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But a big signing by the New York Giants. They end up going out and getting veteran quarterback Tyrod Taylor. They signed him to a 2-year, $17 million deal, including $8.5 million guaranteed. At least that's what I'm looking at right here. So that is a massive, massive move. I like that move. And a lot of people are saying, oh, he's going to be Daniel Jones' backup. I'd hold the horses on that. I really would. Because in my opinion, in my eyes, Tyrod Taylor is a better quarterback. In my opinion. Daniel Jones can get the job done, but he hasn't. It's just plain and simple, he hasn't. You can show me the stats, you can do all this and all that, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have Tyrod Taylor leading my organization. Yes, he has been dealing with injuries in the past. He's had a very rough go of it. He played in Buffalo for a whole season at one point, but then he went to Cleveland. Baker came in the building. Now it's not Tyrod's time. Tyrod goes to Los Angeles Chargers. Gets a fucking needle stuck through his lungs. Okay, so now Justin Herbert gets a chance to step on the field and show what he has. And, well, never lost it. Okay, he never lost that job, so Tyrod Taylor was out of a job there. Then he goes to Houston, gets injured, has to sit out quite a few games. Davis Mills starts in his place, a Stanford guy, a rookie, and does a phenomenal job, a great job for that organization. It seems as if the new head coach, Lovie Smith, says, hey, that's our guy at this point in time, unless we can find some way to keep Deshaun Watson. Not going to happen. Okay, Deshaun Watson has publicly stated, get me out of Houston. I want to go somewhere else where I'm actually wanted. I have a better opportunity to win a ring and chase a ring because this organization, garbage. So Davis Mills gets that job. Now Tyrod Taylor hits the free agency market. Where's he going to go? A lot of speculation with the Colts and other teams. He ends up with the New York Giants in a position in which apparently the New York Giants said that they couldn't afford Mitchell Trubisky on a $10 million deal, but yet they go out and they sign Tyrod Taylor to a 2-year, $17 million deal. They both got kind of similar deals. I think Mitchell Trubisky got like a $9 million deal with a certain amount guaranteed where he can earn up to 10 or 12. And then Tyrod, he's making 8.5 guaranteed, 17 total. So I'm pumped for it. I think he's going to get a chance to start unless Daniel Jones proves me otherwise. I think Tyrod Taylor would be a very, very good fit for the New York Giants. Obviously not going to be a turnaround system, not going to be a turnaround organization. It's going to take some time to get to the mountaintop, but they're starting to work their way up. New head coach Brian Dable, obviously new GM. So they've been kind of plugging the pieces in over there at the New York Giants organization. Another interesting little piece of information. The Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are signing running back Deonta Foreman, formerly of the Tennessee Titans, who had to step in because of an injured Derrick Henry last season. They tried it out with Adrian Peterson, just wasn't working out. Deonta Foreman actually stepped in pretty nicely. So you have to think now. They got 3 running backs on their payroll. Christian McCaffrey, who has a massive deal right in front of him. Chuba Hubbard, who performed exceptionally well last year because of an injured Christian McCaffrey. I even had him on my fantasy at one point. A lot of other people had him on their fantasy team because of what he was capable of doing and the points he was capable of putting up. And now they add Deonta Foreman. Now the Carolina Panthers have been open to, trading Christian McCaffrey. And I would too, because this man is very, very injury prone, but he's also a very, very good football player. So it's kind of like, do I have to do this? Do I want to do this? You're kind of stuck in the middle zone. You're like, okay, he gets hurt way too fucking much, so we can't count on him. We can't trust him to be healthy. But when he is healthy, it's like, oh my, like we got a dog, we got a guy that had 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards just a couple of years ago. This man is a maniac on the football field. So Carolina is open to trading him. I'd expect that deal to get done very shortly. Maybe Deshaun Watson's on his way to Carolina and Christian McCaffrey on his way to Houston, or it's a 3-team deal where they trade them separately. They trade Deshaun Watson to Carolina, Christian McCaffrey somewhere else in the realm of the NFL or a different team organization. And then obviously Houston would get something in return, maybe. But we'll see when that time comes. Some shocking news as well. We all know that the Honey Badger Tyrann Mathieu of the Kansas City Chiefs hit the free agency market this season. And signs were not pointing to him to be returning to Kansas City. And that has come full circle where the Kansas City Chiefs have decided to sign safety or former Texans safety Justin Reed to a 3-year, $31.5 million deal with $20 million guaranteed. Now, I guess the Chiefs have stated publicly that they were going to move on and move forward from the Honey Badger and get some new pieces in that defense to really amp up the pressure of trying to build a championship team yet again. So the Honey Badger is now going to be a very highly sought after target. I'd expect he's going to be very expensive. He's going to be up there in the Marcus Williams type of contract deal. Marcus Williams, formerly of the Saints, now gets signed to the Baltimore Ravens. They land a superstar to a 5-year, $70 million deal with 57 of that guaranteed. The Ravens are all in. Now they need a fucking wide receiver. I've been screaming it from the mountaintop. Get yourself a receiver. Get yourself a receiver. Sammy Watkins ain't going to cut it. Rashad Bateman, we don't quite know, but he could do it. And Hollywood Brown. Okay, I understand. Yeah, he's your number one guy. Get somebody else in the building. Okay, I just do not trust him to be a superstar wide receiver. He's a good number 2, a good number 3. He's not a number 1. Get a number 1 receiver in the building. Could have had Amari Cooper. He goes to the Browns. But the Ravens defense is looking phenomenal, folks. Absolutely phenomenal. At Field Yates on Twitter said, this is the Ravens secondary will now be led by cornerback Marlon Humphrey, just signed a massive deal last year. Marcus Peters signed a massive deal last year as well. Free safety Marcus Williams, who just signed a 5-year, $70 million deal with 57 guaranteed. And now they got strong safety Chuck Clark. Don't really know too much about him other than He's good. Okay, he's in the NFL. They're going to be good if they're in the NFL. So you get it. That is a hell of a group right there. That is phenomenal. You get a really good secondary to protect the deep ball, to protect the medium ball, to protect the short ball. Keep everything in front of you. Everything will be A-okay. And that's what the Ravens know. And I think the Ravens are trying to make another playoff push in which they've had early exits every time they've been in there, at least the past 2 seasons or 3 seasons, the past 2 seasons, not counting last year. So, Ravens, they're trying to make some moves. But in the end, we're going to be really unsure of what they kind of look like. They got Lamar Jackson. I've been stated on the show saying, not sold on the mobile quarterback just yet. I just don't feel like they are capable of winning a Super Bowl right now. I think it's going to take some time. I think it's going to take 5 years for mobile quarterbacks to really take over that quarterback position. Right now, as we stand in the NFL, at least for the last 50 years and beyond, it's a pocket passing league. It is moving towards a mobile quarterback league, but it's a pocket passing quarterback league. There's some of them that are more than capable of running the ball. Josh Allen being one of them. He's a mobile quarterback, but at the same time, he's a pocket passer. I almost said Jackson Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes, okay? Same way. Aaron Rodgers, he scrambles amazingly. He gets 10, 12 yards when he needs to, but he stays in the pocket. Tom fucking Brady has won 7 goddamn rings, staying in the pocket. I think that trend continues. Matthew Stafford, same way, just won a Super Bowl last year, pocket passer. It's going to be tough for, these mobile quarterbacks, I think, and I believe, to go out there and win a Super Bowl right now. It could happen, okay? It definitely could happen. But I just don't see that happening right now. So, Ravens, they got some work to do. I think they'll be just fine. They'll be one of the top teams in the NFL, one of the top, in at least the top half of the league for sure. Their division, though, is going to be a rough one. They got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just landed, Mitchell Trubisky, which welcome to Mitchburg. That is probably trademarked by Pat McAfee because that was awesome. I didn't even think that it would roll off the tongue like that and then that well. But they land Mitch Trubisky. They have their quarterback or they're out of the quarterback carousel, if you will. Now they need to find a wide receiver because Juju Smith-Schuster, he's a free agent. Chase Claypool's still on his rookie contract. They have still a very young tight end in Pat Freiermuth. So they're ready to rock and roll. Their defense looks just fine. Minka Fitzpatrick signed that deal. TJ Watt signed his deal. So I think they're going to go out and find a linebacker, maybe a defensive tackle to help out with Cam Hayward a little bit, even though Cam Hayward is a monster at defensive tackles. So there's a lot of moves that have been made in that organization. Then they got the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns have been linked to a Deshaun Watson meeting. Tomorrow, apparently, the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson are going to be having a meeting. That was per Ian Rappaport. So I'd expect, I don't know if I'd expect it to be true at this point in time. But if that does happen, you got to think maybe Baker's on the move. And that's very interesting because they've had multiple opportunities to extend Baker Mayfield. Multiple opportunities. 2 years ago, at the end of the season, they said, we'll reevaluate it when the time comes. Then after this season, we were expecting a contract extension. Did not happen. Because he has 1 more year left in his contract, then we'll figure it out after that. That tells me that they're not completely sold on the fact that Baker Mayfield might just be their franchise quarterback. Browns fans might disagree. But the organization has told us, not, verbally, but by their language, their body language, basically, like, hi, well, nah, because they could have signed him to a contract extension. They could have already done that. Signed, dotted, sent in, Baker's your guy for the next 5 years, potentially. That did not happen. That tells me right there, they're not completely sold on the fact that Baker Mayfield just might be their franchise quarterback. Deshaun Watson and the Browns are going to have a meeting. That would be an awesome fit, I feel like. That would be a great fit for Cleveland. But again, mobile quarterback. Can he get it done? He's brought the Houston Texans to multiple playoff appearances. But he had DeAndre Hopkins at that time. He had J.J. Watt, so he had weapons. But I guess if he goes to Cleveland, he has more weapons. I mean, that defense has been stacked up pretty nicely. Okay, they got to figure out their cornerback situation and their linebacker position. But they have Myles Garrett on one side, Jadeveon Clowney no more. He's a free agent. Their offense, Amari Cooper gets brought into the building. That was a fantastic addition. Anthony Schwartz is obviously over there. Donovan Peoples-Jones in the backfield, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. So they are all set. But on some shocking fucking news, the president of the National Football League Players Association for back-to-back terms, J.C. Tretter has been released from the organization. Don't know why they did that. I've said multiple times on the show, you need a young, or not really young, you need an offensive line that has chemistry built. Because if you don't, it's going to be that much harder to win ball games. Their offensive line is young and thriving and ready to rock and roll. Okay, Jedrick Wills, J.C. Tretter, Wyatt Teller, Joel Bitonio. They have pieces that should have stayed there, and they get rid of their fucking center. Who's going to be snapping the ball to Baker Mayfield now? We'll find out probably within the next couple days. You'd have to assume it's going to be maybe a big name target, maybe a rookie that comes out, because we've seen what Creed Humphrey was able to do with the Kansas City Chiefs last year. He's a phenomenal asset to their organization. But then they also got to deal with the Cincinnati Bengals. Just went to a Super Bowl. They lost. But they've already started making moves trying to fix their offensive line. Okay, they got the pieces. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe fucking Burrow. Okay, in their backfield, Joe Mixon. Their defense, Trey Hendrickson. They're going to have to figure out the other stuff. Jesse Bates signs a franchise tag. Bengals are the real deal. So that organization, or that whole division, is going to be a tough one to win. And it's going to be fun to watch. And I think that's said for the whole AFC. Last year that was the case. The AFC was pretty fun to watch. Electrifying. Okay, so that could be the same way that we have this year. The 49ers, they go out and they sign former Chiefs cornerback Charvarius Ward to a 3-year, $40.5 million deal. So this 49ers add some firepower to their secondary to help potentially win some more ball games, keep, like said, the Rams from throwing on them and going to the Super Bowl, in which the Rams probably shouldn't have, but they played a better ball game than the Niners, and the rest is kind of history. The Lions end up signing former Jags wide receiver DJ Chark to, a 1-year deal, which is said to be about $10 million. Okay. I like that signing. I really do. Because now I think DJ Chark has shown that he's a top receiver in the NFL. Not a top 10 by any means, but a top, 20 at least. But I think the Lions are trying to make a point where we got a good offense. That's we got Jared Goff last season from the Matthew Stafford trade. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who started to flourish at the end of the year. A running back, DeAndre Swift. I think that's, DeAndre Swift. That sounds right. And now DJ Chark. We have the pieces in place to make a very good push. TJ Hawkinson at their tight end. They're building that offense so that they can put points on the board and have a chance of potentially beating other football teams. Okay, we'll see if that happens, because obviously they're in the division with the Green Bay Packers, who just signed Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully they find a way to sign Devontae Adams, the Chicago Bears, and the fucking Minnesota Vikings, who are making some moves. Signed Jordan Hicks to a 2-year deal. Signed defensive tackle Harrison Phillips to about a $19.5 million deal after releasing Michael Pierce, which I kind of felt like that was, at first when I seen they released Michael Pierce, I was like, well, I don't know if we should have done that, but then I kind of thought back on it. I'm like, oh, wait, we just signed a D-tackle last night, basically. So I'm like, okay, well, works out. We still have Dalvin Tomlinson on that defensive tackle list or depth chart area, whatever you want to say. So the Vikings are making some moves. The Cowboys. Now this was This was absolute bonkers, folks. And what is that question? It says Browns to go. Wait, what? Browns in on Watson? I think so. Yes. I mean, who wouldn't be? I mean, he instantly makes your team that much better. So I think, they haven't been sold on Baker Mayfield this whole time, and I think Watson would definitely bring that team more upside, if you kind of catch what I'm trying to say. But ultimately, who knows if they decide to roll with Baker? I'd love to see that because he was riddled with injuries last year. But it seems as if Deshaun Watson might end up either a Saint or a Carolina Panther because they already have deals in place, ready to rock and roll. Now they just got to kind of wait for Watson to do his trips and do his meetings. And apparently, other than the Browns, the Saints, and the Panthers, Watson decided, hey, I'm going to meet with the Atlanta Falcons, which makes a lot of sense. At first, I was like, what? Why? They have no receiver, no running back. Their defense is atrocious. Why would he want to go talk to the Atlanta Falcons? Well, had a little bird in my mind tell me, well, where's he from? He's from Gainesville, Georgia. I believe that's what it was, if I had to remember. I know he's from Georgia. Don't call me on the Gainesville, but he is from Georgia, so that would make a lot of sense for him to go down to Atlanta, but he doesn't have much to deal with down there, so he's probably going to have to, attract some veteran receivers, maybe Odell Beckham Jr., who is on the market. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is also on the market. Who knows if Devontae Adams is going to stay at Green Bay Packers? So things are definitely going to be shifted around and thrown around. The NFL is going to look different, so who knows what Watson's really up to, but he is doing meetings with multiple teams, ready to rock and roll. Most likely going to be the Saints and the Panthers. But the most crazy thing that happened today, I guess not really the most crazy, but one of those things that you were just like, whoa, what just happened here? Hey, I thought I was seeing shit. So I'm sitting, waiting for the Twitter to keep going like it has been the whole day, blowing up. And then I see the Cowboys have re-signed defensive end Randy Gregory to a 5-year, $70 million deal with $28 million of that guaranteed. Cool, hell yeah, they keep another fucking solid guy around. They just signed DeMarcus Lawrence to an extension. They're helping their defense out a little bit, keeping the players that they drafted around. As we know that Amari Cooper was not drafted by the Cowboys, they ended up releasing him, signing Michael Gallup to a massive extension, 5 years or something like that, because they drafted his ass. So the Cowboys said, well, let's try to figure out a way to keep Randy Gregory right here. So they get a deal done, 5 years, $70 million, 28 guaranteed. But hold on, not so fast, says the Denver Broncos. 30 minutes after the Cowboys decide to sign Randy Gregory, the Broncos give him the exact same fucking deal without all the fuckery in the contract. So what this is kind of panning out to be is, so Randy Gregory had some drug issues and some alcohol issues early on in his career, missed a whole season at one point. First it was a 6-game suspension, then it was a 10-game suspension, and then it was a whole season suspension. So I think what kind of happened here is we're going to sign you, the Cowboys said, we're going to sign you for this contract. 5 years, $70 million, $28 million guaranteed. But on the back side of the contract, when he flipped it over, it said, well, we won't owe you anything if you screw up basically again. And he said, throwing that up and not happening. I'm going to fucking Denver. So that was a massive, massive deal to be made. Because now Denver's a real, they're a serious contender next year. Russell Wilson goes there. Jerry Jeudy, a young receiver. Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton. Melvin Gordon decided to stay in town. Their defense, Bradley Chubb. Now they get Randy Gregory as one of the other ends. Who knows if they bring back Von Miller, maybe a Bobby Wagner reunion, because Russell Wilson has been reported to say, hey, come to Denver. It's really nice out here, in the mountains. Legal, stuff like that. Come over to Denver. So Bobby Wagner could be on a move over there as well. Who knows if they sign any more corners or get that whole situation figured out. But Denver is a very serious contender. Just landed Randy Gregory on a 5-year deal. I'm pumped to see what that AFC West division has in store for us. The Chiefs, we know about the Chiefs. Okay, we know what they're capable of doing. Put points like that on the board, game over. Chargers, they land Khalil Mack to pair with Joey Bosa defensively, extend, what is his name? Mike Williams at wide receiver to pair with even longer with Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert's there, Austin Eckler. I mean, this team is ready to rock and roll. And then you got the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, well, they could be kind of in the middle of the pack. Okay, Derek Carr is still a dog. I believe he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. I'd take him over Daniel Jones any day of the week as well. So you can do with that information what you will. But they got a wide receiver issue, right? Henry Ruggs, he's gone for the rest of his career. See you later unless he gets a second chance, which I hope, but at the same time I don't, because he was an idiot. Okay, can't be trusted really with, I mean, he is young and we all make dumb choices and dumb decisions when we're young, but let's see. I haven't heard anything on if he was indicted or what the hell happened with that situation. I'm sure since the courts are kind of all backed up and the Deshaun Watson situation took this long to kind of figure out, it's going to take even longer for his situation to get figured out. But Hunter Renfro's there. Zay Jones just left. So, I mean, the Raiders are okay. Sorta. They just got a new head coach, extended Max Crosby to like a $95 million extension. So they're making moves, but not as much as the Denver Broncos have and the Los Angeles Chargers have, especially with, Khalil Mack in that division now and other pieces as well, like Randy Gregory. The Bills also kind of hit on a little piece that I've been yelling, screaming from the mountaintop yet again. Hey, you need a fucking running back. Okay, Devin Singletary just ain't cutting it. He's not good. He's a good number 2 running back on the depth chart. He's not a number 1. They're all in on Devin Singletary, but they end up going out and signing former Washington football team, now the Washington Commanders, running back J.D. McKissick to a 2-year, $7 million deal. So all they're going to do is pass the ball yet again. Like on True Identity Tuesday, I said, what is the Bills' true identity? Well, it's the passing attack, okay? They're just going to pass the ball all day, every day, and if you can't beat it, well, game over. Game, set, match. Patriots also bring back one of their own. They're re-signing running back James White to a 2-year, $5 million deal. I like that one because of what he's been able to do, and the Patriots organization has said multiple times how he is a workhorse. He comes in ready to do his job. He just soaks in all the information. He's a sponge out there, and he's a very reliable guy. Never gets injured, and when he does, it's for like a day or two, or like a week maybe. So James White signs back with the New England Patriots. I'm pumped for it because, obviously I'm a Patriots fan, second, Vikings first, NFL fan in total. But I like that one. The Falcons, they go out and they re-sign their kicker, Younghoe Koo, to a 5-year, $24.25 million deal with 11.5 of that guaranteed. I'm pumped for this. This guy came from nothing, okay? I mean, he was doing ridiculous kicks a couple of years ago. Signs to the Atlanta Legends of the AAF. Doesn't miss a field goal there, which leads to a contract by the Atlanta Falcons. And since being with the Atlanta Falcons in 3 years, he's made 87 of 94 field goals. Super accurate. An onside kick specialist. This man is so much fun to watch. He's definitely one of the top kickers everyone wants to draft in their fantasy football leagues, for sure, right behind Justin Tucker. Okay, that guy is a G. If Adam Vinatieri is here, Adam Vinatieri is probably up there as well. No, definitely up there, because I think Adam Vinatieri is probably the best kicker in NFL history, in my opinion. But it's also because he's a Patriot, but he was a Colt as well. So, but Younghoe Koo gets a contract extension from the Falcons. I'm glad they did that because it's hard to find a good kicker, especially in today's league, because if you miss one, it's like, boo, get the hell out of here, like the Minnesota Vikings have had to fucking deal with since Gary Anderson in 97 or whatever that was, fucking never missed a field goal the whole season. Boom, and it's wide right. And we missed the Super Bowl, so glad they did that. Bucks ended up landing former Falcons wide receiver Russell Gage, another wide receiver from the Falcons who I went through a little, this is who they got, this is who they don't type of spiel when Calvin Ridley kind of got suspended for the whole season. Russell Gage is now on the move to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to join Tom Brady and the boys, trying to chase another ring. All right? I'll be pretty pumped about that one. And lastly, the Jets end up signing former Seahawks cornerback DJ Reed to a 3-year, $33 million deal. as well as the Buccaneers safety, Jordan Whitehead. So the Jets are making some moves, trying to make that defense a little bit, more seasoned out there, a little bit better than what they were last year. We all know Bob Saleh is a defensive-minded head coach, so he's getting the pieces that he needs to potentially, keep teams from scoring on them as much as they do, especially in the division with the Bills, the Patriots, and the Dolphins, because we know what those teams are capable of doing. The Jets, not so much. Now I think in the draft they're going to work on offense, probably still fill in some pieces on defense, and we'll see where their franchise is kind of headed in the next couple of years. It's a race between the Giants and the Jets. Who's going to be the better New York team? Well, we'll find out here probably in the next 5 to 10 years. Historically, it's been the Giants, okay? Because before the New York Jets were even a thing, it was the New York Titans. So that's just a little history fact there for you. So lots of moves have been made in the NFL. This is only day 2, folks. One more day remains, that being tomorrow, because at 3 p.m. Central Time, all teams have had to meet or be under the cap space that the NFL set at $208 million just last week at 3 p.m. Central Time. That has to be done Wednesday or tomorrow. Free agency, that's when all the deals that we've been talking about have to be signed, or not have to be, get signed, and then we start seeing the NFL kind of coming back into our lives with OTAs, rookie minicamp after the draft, obviously, and then training camp, preseason, and then the NFL regular season, and I cannot wait for that to happen. USFL also coming up April 16th between first game, Birmingham Stallions against the New Jersey Generals. Can't wait for that one. That's in about a month. So that is all I have for you guys today. More moves will continue to happen around the NFL. Stay tuned for all those. Look at your Twitter, look at your Instagram to figure out what the hell is kind of going on. Other than that, we'll be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time, like always, to dive into what the fuck just happened the past 24 hours. So have a great rest of your day. Enjoy this beautiful weather out there. It's like 60 degrees damn near, and I'm pumped for it. Have a great rest of your day, and you just got your fix with Wicks. Deuces, folks.